on Channel Africa.
Tensions are still running high in Burkina Faso after authorities said that they stopped a coup attempt aimed at toppling Captain Ibrahim Traoré's government. Security officials claim that the plot involved soldiers working with terrorist groups to destabilize the country. Meanwhile, protests are being planned across Africa and globally, with supporters warning against foreign interference. To help us understand the situation, we're now joined by Professor Kwesi Aning from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center in Ghana. Thanks very much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. I don't have anything to do with the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center. I just sent you a note. I'm only a security analyst.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Captain Traoré came into power through a coup in 2022. How would you describe Burkina Faso's political and security situation under his leadership so far?
Well, I think Traoré has re-energized the people of Burkina Faso, has recaptured the spirit that Captain Thomas Sankara rekindled several decades ago before he was murdered. That spirit of nationalism, of patriotism, and of a drive for self-sufficiency and independence is continuing to transform Burkina Faso. But there are multiple narratives. For those previously powerful countries that have lost a stake in Burkina Faso, they are creating an impression of instability, of violence, of deepening poverty. But for those of us who are proud Africans and want to see our continent transformed, we see in Captain Traoré, together with his two other friends in Mali and Niger, a transformative agenda that is asking difficult questions, that is placing the interest of their countries at the center of their developmental and political choices. And we are beginning to see that even as poor countries, particularly in Burkina Faso, they are regaining their voice, their self-dignity, a sense that they can transform their country without being beggars. Traoré has lit a powerful light on our continent that I'm very confident that if he's not assassinated by the conservatives and those in his country who still think in a neo-colonial way, then we will see a spread of Traoré's views and his interventions.
Is there not a danger that a precedent is being set where there could be a thinking that the ends justifies the means, that there are positive coups that can be acceptable?
I don't make any excuses when so-called democratic processes only deepens and embeds corruption, exclusion, theft of public funds, governments run by friends and family. The democratic dividend must be spread in a fair, transparent, and proper manner. Nobody wants violent military coups in which human rights and the rule of law are suspended. But this is a contest for forms of governance. And for those who think that democracy is just a recycling of 4 yearly processes of just dropping a piece of paper in a box, then we can go to sleep and a tiny elite can loot, terrorize, and destroy their countries, as happened in Ghana for the last 8 years, then I can assure you that the chances of democracy, or so-called democracy, surviving on the continent of Africa has a very short span. I think for those who think that that form of governance is useful, and I'm not taking that argument away from them, then let them demonstrate to this great continent that that is a form of government that can deliver public goods, can create jobs, build hospitals, schools, provide security, and bring back the dignity of the African. Right now, nobody respects our continent. In the geopolitical conversations going on, we are not mentioned. The continent has become a beggar continent. Okay, with our leaders jetting around the whole place in their private jets, whilst we try to cross the Mediterranean to go and beg for, and work for a pittance. What Traoré is trying to do is to say, hang on for a split second. We will change the curriculum. We will teach our history. We will bring our heroes. We will talk about our heroes and say, how did they survive and how did they fight? Is it going to be an easy struggle? No. Because we have a concerted, strong enemy that has sought to put us under that boot of colonialism and neocolonialism for as long as possible. Traoré's interventions seeks to shift and change that narrative, and he will face strong oppositions from within his own country, from within his own heads of states. My own head of state, former head of state, Nana Akufo-Addo, went to the United States and sought to sell the Burkinabe state to the Americans, lied to the Americans about Burkina Faso. So the struggle is going to be difficult, it's going to be long, but we know that when people are concerted and led by informed leadership, then transformation takes place. And Traoré has started the process of leading the way.
Earlier on, you said that it may be that Traoré's thinking may spread. Is it coincidental that it's Francophone countries that have started this wave? Might we see this in other parts of the continent, Anglophone countries maybe? Or is this something peculiar to the Francophonies?
Well, I think in the beginning, one can say that there's a certain peculiarity to the Francophonic states because of the way their post-independence economies and politics were tied to the fortunes of France. So whilst for the Anglophone states, independence was a clear-cut severance of the umbilical cord between the African states and the UK. France maintained ever more closer ties economically, with their foreign reserves placed in Paris, their gold stocks, so their ability to wiggle or to determine their own future was considerably small. So the animosity against France, the sense that we are independent but even much more oppressed, was there. A typical example was the price of uranium bought by France to power the electricity in France for $2 a kilo, or whatever the price is, until now that it has been renegotiated to $200. Okay, and it cuts across. Mali has driven away the Australians and is trying to seize the gold mines and to refine. Likewise, Burkina Faso. So we are seeing the growth, albeit small, of specific economic interventions that, if the African Free Trade Continental Agreement works, can speed up all these developments. But my brother, it's not going to be easy, because no one has power and willingly, joyfully hands over that power. But as I'm saying, with a dedicated leadership, a concerted vision about what a possible outcome will be, Burkina Faso certainly, and together with the two other countries, Mali and Niger, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, would be successful.
Right. So it is a fascinating story that's playing out, definitely in the region. You've been saying that this is going to be very hard and that you fear for assassination. So there must be then some credibility to the claims that are being made about this reported coup, that it genuinely was one, and that there may be links to the plotters and terrorist groups. Hello, Prof, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. So I was just talking about what we make of this reported coup attempt and the claims of links between plotters and terrorist groups.
Well, I think one of the narratives that disturbs me a lot, and which I'm beginning to challenge through my own work, is this notion of Traoré and his two colleagues in Mali and Niger suddenly losing the fight against terrorism. And it raises fundamental questions. If all these countries that supposedly provided security force assistance for years couldn't fight the terrorists, supposedly, how do they expect these governments in the last 2 years to be able to win the battle? And doesn't it raise concerns that terrorists who had almost been, battled to a stalemate suddenly have more effective weapons, are moving much quickly, are being able to attack government forces, that their communications have improved and their firepower? So suddenly the enemy landscape is beginning to shift. And I don't have any doubt at all that intelligence is being shared between the detractors of these regimes and some of the violent extremist or terrorist groups, empowering them with intelligence and with the necessary firepower to try to undermine these regimes. I don't have any doubt at all. Historically, on this continent, we have experienced the alliance between opportunists who seek to undermine their own regime. So this is not a surprise.
Talk to me a little bit about Burkina Faso looking to Russia, getting closer ties, including new gold deals, and this shift away from Western allies. What do you make of this? Is this a better friend, or could there be unintended consequences as Russia has its own bigger agenda across the continent?
You know, I always laugh when people bring in Russia. Russia has been on this continent for decades. Russia was there when we fought our colonial struggles, or the Soviet Union then. Russia Nobody is talking about Mr. Trump befriending Mr. Putin. So why can't we? We, or Burkina Faso, as a sovereign independent state, has the legitimate right to calculate and to make choices as to which set of friends will better help it to achieve its national interest. Now, you mentioned the gold. All the countries, the previous countries that had been in Burkina Faso, had basically cheated and stolen the gold from the Burkinabe people. Traoré is saying, okay, fine, this is a resource embedded in my state, in my soil. I want the best price for it. I want those who can give me the technology to be able to mine and to refine and to add value to my gold. So you know what? For those who think that they don't agree with this, let them go jump into the sea. It's as simple as that. For those who think they don't agree, let them go to Washington and make a similar argument. African states, and particularly those led by enlightened leadership, will not tolerate this neo-colonial narrative that we are your friends. Why are you going here? We can help you to make choices. We are old enough to make our own choices.
Prof, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much indeed for your insights and analysis. We're very grateful, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's Professor Emmanuel Kwesi Aning, a distinguished Ghanaian academic and security